Hey everyone, welcome to Gagatalk. This is episode 9. My name is Airhead and or Gator, depending on where you know me from, and it's been a minute since the last episode. So, it's been it's been really crazy, and I have a lot to talk about, but at the same time I also don't. Okay, that makes no sense. This is going to be a really deep episode, and if you are not comfortable with talking about topics of just being really low in your life, I don't think this is the episode for you. But before we get to those really sad topics, let's talk about Minecraft. I spoke about Minecraft for a little bit on the last episode, and the server's still kicking. We have about 5 active players, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 5 really good Minecraft players getting stuff done ends up making a server look really cool. But yeah, it's been really nice. The server's kicking butt. It's nice coming home from a day of school and just playing Minecraft. It's nice. I feel like every time I play Minecraft with my friends, I get a little closer to them, and that just feels nice. It's a way to relieve stress. The server's looking beautiful. The background footage is pretty much just a tour of the world, a very sloppy one. I think I ended up getting in like a fight at the end, but we're just having fun. It's been really fun on the server, and I'm grateful to the people who play on it. So yeah. So now the seriousness begins. About a month ago, or 3 weeks ago, I was at probably the one of the lowest points in my life, and it got really bad. Like I was not. It got to the point where I was not content with living, and you know I had thought over and over again through every single reason why I should stay alive. And, it wasn't making sense to me. Like, why am I here? Why am I alive? I really didn't want to be alive at that point. And it got to a point, and it wasn't, I hated it. I hated it. I hated being alive at that moment. And time passed, and I slowly started to get better. I got into a car accident, a really bad accident, and I got out of it. Everyone got out of it perfectly fine. No one got hurt, and I feel like that was a miracle. I can't really show photos of the accident, but my car got totally totaled. It got crushed like a tin can. And at the speed we were going when we collided with the person, and the person collided behind us, hit us, realistically, I shouldn't be alive, And I think it was crazy because for the first time in months, I was so happy to be alive, and getting in that accident really changed my perspective of life because I had my life flash before my eyes. It's going to sound terrible, but I got out of the car and started laughing. That's how happy I was to be alive. And I don't think I've ever really respected the idea of being alive as much as I had until, I saw a world where it was taken away from me. So I do want to let you know that even if life seems bleak, if it doesn't seem like if you don't feel like you deserve to live, if you feel like there's no reason to be alive, I know how it feels to have it told to you, but from someone who has genuinely thought that way, don't ever consider it. Never consider it. Life is everything, bro. And to think it's nothing is so, I don't know how to say it. It's not disrespectful. It's a terrible way to describe it, but Being alive is something great, man. It's all we have, and you got to respect that, and you gotta appreciate it. And it took me almost losing my life to appreciate and respect it. So no matter what happens, I'm gonna keep kicking. You know, I'm not saying go out and get into a car wreck that almost kills you and your friend, but I definitely appreciate my life a whole lot more now that that happened. Um, Sad part over. Uh, Moral of that story: love life, cause maybe you won't be as lucky as I was, and you won't be able to appreciate life if you ever get into that point. Learn to love life. I went to a furry convention. All right, I'm gonna be teaching you guys about furries. Okay. I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. I'm not a furry. I'm not a furry. Oh, that sounds like something a closeted furry would say. Shut up! Get out of my ear. Get out of my ear. I'm not a furry, right? A lot of my friends are. If I were a furry, I would be a toucan. I like toucans. They're really cool. Um, I went to this convention, and I'm a big con goer. I love to go to conventions. I'll be at Holiday Matsuri this year. If you catch me there, come take a photo with me. That'd be very fun. But I'll be at Hall Mat this year in Orlando, Florida, around December. I love conventions. I've started going to conventions a lot recently last year. And, you know, I've never been to a furry convention, but I've always been very interested in their culture. Partially, a big part of me was curious as to why they dress up. And I think that's another thing that makes a lot of people curious. Like, why do they do that? So it may not make sense to people who don't do cosplay, but let's say you really like this character Naruto, from series Naruto, and you go and cosplay Naruto. Yeah, that's the exact same thing, right? Almost the exact same thing. Every furry has an OC, an original character that they made, and they're just cosplaying that character. And I was so confused as to, why did they do that? Because they're cosplaying a character. And that character is them. And it's kind of charming, They made this character, they made the money, they put together the money to bring this character to life. And that's pretty much what it is. They're bringing a character that they made to life. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'll get this out of the way. Out of all the cons I've gone to, furries were the nicest, bro. They're the nicest, most loving, most respecting, most welcoming community I've ever stepped foot near. In this world of very evil people, furries stand out. And I'm not gonna sit here and say all furries are nice. I'm gonna get to the problematic ones later in this episode, but they get a really bad rep. Partially because of the bad ones. But all the cool ones, they're chilling, bro. They're chilling. Their parties are sick. Their parties were awesome. I'll say that. They had some really cool parties. Their raves were awesome. And like, dude, I'm not a furry. But like the intricacy, I don't know how to say that word. Intricacy of their suits was like off the charts, dude. I was like they sink big buco bucks into those outfits, bro. And they're really high quality, bro. They're really high quality. And I think that's admirable. Because effort has become a thing of the past, in my opinion. I feel like people are trying to tap dance around ways to sink as little effort into anything as possible. And furries are putting as much effort into things as possible, and I think that's very admirable as a community. I met some very famous furries. I met the bird, the remote, the finance bird. Yeah, teaching you about how to build your nest egg. He was so nice. He was so nice. I met I did see that horse with the very well endowed horse. That was kind of nuts. I think that's one of them that give furries bad rep, because that's crazy. That was crazy. Um, Fiona is her name. I it was Megaplex, by the way. I went to Megaplex. I went home early because I bought the full weekend pass, but I went home early partially because I was like, hey, I've already seen everything pretty much. What's the point of me staying? So I left. Um, but yeah, it was a really cool convention. It was a really cool convention. The line at that convention was long. The registration line was long as hell, and it felt like it never ended, because even at like night, I was walking past the con and the line was still going on. I was like, bro, people are paying like $80 to stand in registration lines for a whole day. That's nuts. That's nuts to me. But it was a really cool con. It was a really cool con. Um, yeah, I can't reiterate how kind they were. And I said this in one of my reels. They don't smell bad. People are like, "Oh, furry's got to stink, bro." No, they actually have a very routine hygiene, or a very set hygiene routine. And they actually have a lot of sprays that they put on their suits that are made specifically for the suits to smell good. And that's also very cool. I'm a big cologne guy, or I used to be a very very big cologne guy. I still dabble, you know. I still keep up in the world of cologne, but they have very unique smells, and this sounds so strange, but props to them for staying hygienic and at least being kind enough to other people to not reek. Anime conventions need to take notes from furry conventions. I'll say that. Some people at anime cons smell bad. The problematic furries, bro. All right, all right. This is bordering the territory of hate. I'm about to hate on some people. Don't disregard everything I just said if you're a furry watching this, because I really like y'all furries. I cooperate with y'all. Y'all are sick. The furries that walk around in like I don't want to sound rude, because I don't understand it, but I get that furry culture is very hypersexualized. Not to all of them, but to a decent chunk of them. Furry culture is very hypersexualized, and I think that's very problematic, in my opinion. Um, a lot of them were walking around in very revealing clothes, not just the women, but the men too. They were wearing skin tight. They were showing their pine cone. I'll say that they were showing their todger, and in public, around kids, and I wasn't very fond of that. And I understand, and those are the ones that give furries the bad rep, right? I would, and from what I've found, is the furry community is very split. You know, they don't all stay in one circle. There's a bunch of little circles, and some of them overlap with other parts of the furry community. But there's the ones that wear like really tight clothes, showing their whole todger to the public, and I think that's just very indecent. I don't understand why, and I think it's just nasty. But not all furries do that. So not all furries should be getting the rep that those furries give, right? Right. I'll defend furries, but I won't defend the ones that are just very indecent, very indecent. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That was a very fun con. I would go back. Not for the full weekend, but I would go there for a day. I'll say that confidently. I would go back to a furry con. Partially because I just love the Orange County Convention Center. And it gets hate for being so big, but that's what I like about it. I love how big it is. Right? I love how high quality it is. It feels like an airport. Being able to just walk around and enjoy myself. I like that. I like that. I feel like I'm on vacation anytime I go. And I feel like that's an important vibe to give. Because some cons, it's like, oh, I'm in this building, but I have school tomorrow. The convention center area is so high quality that I'm like, oh, I'm on vacation, and I get to have fun tomorrow. You know, I love the Orange County Convention Center. Any con that's there, I would go to. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. I've been very in due for a Gagatalk, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Um, yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you liked today's episode. I'm gonna try and keep it up as much as I can. Gagatalk's not ending anytime soon. I do have plans to go full 100 episodes before I even consider stopping, but I do plan on getting 100 episodes of Gagatalk, so don't expect this to end anytime soon. Um, Again, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe, share, follow. My Instagram's in the comments below. Go follow me on that. If you want constant Gaga. But yeah, you have a good day. Peace.